Hello everyone, welcome back to Which is the Moon. I am your Friday hostess Natalie, and this week's topic is music in the craft. Today I am outside, so you can see, if the lighting is a little odd or it looks a little strange, I apologize. Right now there's kind of a glare on my screen, so I'm seeing the camera and then I'm seeing myself, and it's a little strange. I realize I look a little tired today. I didn't get to bed till very late, so please forgive me. However, this is a very, very interesting and I think important topic, and I'm very excited to talk about it. Before I decided to record this video, I went ahead and did some research, because music is one of those things that has always been very important in my life. Personally, I am a child of the 80s and MTV. I was there when they played the very first video, August 1st, 1981. I was there. It was 12:01 p.m. Central Standard Time when it went live, and music has always been extraordinarily important to me, really since before then, but definitely after that. I think I had MTV on with music in the background. I didn't have to watch the videos unless it was Aha, and then I was glued to the set, or Adamant, but that kind of dates me, so if you don't know who any of those bands are, oh Lord, please go look them up. But I definitely felt like music told a story about my life. And in fact, I was having sort of a Twitter discussion with, or not Twitter, I guess it was a Facebook discussion with Paul Wakhtar Savoy, who is the guitarist and primary songwriter for the band Aha, and I told him, your songs, your music, it had a huge impact on my life. So I started wondering, why is it that music is so important? You see music in every culture in the world. What is it about music that makes music so important? Well, music signals many different things for us. And believe it or not, research into music and how music affects the brain or is processed in the brain didn't really begin in earnest until very recently, within the last 10 years or so. And most of the research is being done out of Canada. But there were a few articles that I found that I thought were very important. When you're talking about music and how it affects you, you have to remember that the human brain works on electricity. It's very important to note that our brain works in similar ways regardless of our culture and our background. And in fact, it's when our brain isn't working like everybody else's that we start to notice things like psychopathy and that sort of thing. So when you are talking about how we process music as a human species, that takes place in the right superior temporal gyrus. That's right here. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the neurology of the brain is remarkable in that we don't really understand exactly how it works. Now, we've made great strides in the last few years with functional MRIs, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, and that's used to be when you were in an MRI machine, you had to be very still, and it makes these loud, like banging sounds, and it's essentially sending out magnetic impulses, and those magnetic impulses move your molecules, and then as the molecules move back into place, an image is displayed on the screen, and that's what the person sees, and that's how they can see where there is lesions in the brain or somewhere else in the body. They don't have to look just at the brain, but they do use MRI a lot for brains. And they prefer that over a CT scan, because CT scans are done using radiation and MRIs are not. But basically, the left side of the brain controls language and logical linear thinking, whereas the right side of the brain tends to house the areas where you do sensory input, sensory integration, kind of creative thinking, that sort of thing. So music in everyone's brain is processed primarily here in the right superior temporal gyrus. And they believe that our ability to attune to music is as unique as language functioning in human beings, because no other animal communicates the way humans do, and no other animal processes language the way humans do. They can understand some of it on a very simple level, and they have their own methods of communication, but language as a communication function, as we know it as humans, is unique, and so is music. So it's one of those things that connects us as a human species one to another. And that came from a study by Jay Berkowitz, came out in 2014. Music is one of the key areas of sensory integration in the brain. It allows us to synthesize experiences and emotions. So think about this. When you have a song, that really moves you. Songs can make you happy, songs can make you cry, songs can take you back into memory the same way that smell can. Smell is our primary sense. You smell while you're in the womb. Hearing is very closely behind that. So music plays a big role. This is why we like to sing songs, and really music is a way that children learn language. A lot of times kids that are on the autism spectrum, we will use music because music, the rhythmic patterns connect them. It's a way to connect with somebody who's on the spectrum. They respond quite well to music in most cases. So Dr. Zator and his students, Valerie Salimpour, directly linked music to dopamine in the brain in 2013. When music is processed, dopamine is released in the brain. So it's a natural upper. So music lifts our mood, but music can also make you cry. So how does that work? Well, because certain memories are associated with certain songs. Maybe you hear something and it triggers that memory. So what does that lead me to, and how does that go into how music is used in the craft? Well, think about this. We talk about shifts of consciousness in the craft. When we move into developing our cone of power and directing our power, we want to shift our consciousness. Music is one of the ways in which we can shift consciousness. So music plays a very important role, I feel, in the craft. This is the reason why drum circles are so popular amongst people who practice the craft, chants and rhythmic songs, why we tend to write things in poem also, why we tend to relate to poetry, because poetry is very akin to music in that often songs are written in a poetic manner and poetry has a rhythm. So it appeals to that natural human impulse within us that brings us together. Music binds us as a community. It connects us one to another and puts us into that collective consciousness of human experience. And that is how music is so very important to the craft. When we are chanting something, we're following those same ancient rhythms and patterns that are key to our development as a human being. Those rhythms don't just come out of nowhere. It's there and it's locked into almost like a DNA pattern. So when we are using music in the craft, we are tapping into that collective consciousness and shifting our consciousness into an altered state, which allows us to connect better on a spiritual plane. So that to me is why music is so very, very important in the craft. And even psychologists will agree and have found that music is therapeutic. That comes from a study by Mueller that came out in 2015, so just this past year. They found that drums mirror the heartbeat and can cause physiological changes in heart rhythm and consciousness. So again, going back to your drum circle, why do people feel that need to, that beat? Well, because it mimics the heartbeat, which is something that is, again, not unique to humans even. It's tapping into the living consciousness, I think, at that point. So we find that shifts in consciousness lead to altered states of consciousness, which can allow us to tap better into that spiritual realm. Now, I find that most people tend to equate use of music in the craft with coven work or group work, which may be true, but I personally like to use chants and things like that. I will sing the Witch's Rune around, particularly S.J. Tucker's version of the Witch's Rune. I'm sorry, I'm getting messages. When it is near Samhain, because I find that it helps me connect, especially at the point where the veil is thin. So I really think that that's an important part of the human experience and tapping into the human experience across time spans. I think music allows us to transverse time spans and physical states of being and move into a higher level of consciousness and tap into the human experience as a whole, as well as just the spiritual experience of being a living creature on this planet, and it enhances your craft. So if you can incorporate some sort of music, even if you're not musical yourself, you don't have to be, and you can have that music there and allow that music just to move you in a way. You don't have to sing along. Even if you do, I encourage you to, even if you think that you can't carry a tune in a bucket, try it, because it's part of that human experience. It's something that is integral and primal and very, very important, and can truly, truly, truly enhance your connection to the craft and to the source of the craft and to the source of deity and to the source of life, and can really connect you on a deep, primal, human and animalistic level, that's not a bad way. When I say animalistic, I don't mean, you know, sexual necessarily or anything that's, you know, violent in nature. It's just that which ultimately binds us as living creatures one to another and connects us with the earth and with deity. We are all created, so it connects you to that source. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, like I said, it's a relatively new field of study. In terms of, we've always known it was powerful, and there have been studies in the past, but it hasn't become a really big area of research until the last few years. Reconsidering Music in Trance, Cross-Cultural Differences and Cross-Disciplinary Perspectives by Herbert is a study that was published in 2011 that I think you might find very interesting. And it was published in the Ethnomusicology Forum, Volume 20, Issue 2. So if you have access to scholarly articles, you know, you might look that one up. That one was a very good article that I think will kind of give you some idea how music can enhance your craft. If you don't have access to scholarly articles, but you'd like a copy of this article, I will try to get a copy of the full article. I was only able to get the abstract because I need to log into the university site, but as a student, as a doctoral student, I still have access to the library, and I might be able to pull that article up. I am going to pull it up and read the full article myself. The abstract and the conclusion was very interesting, so I want to see how they fully looked at that, but that was one. So by all means, if you'd like some more information on that, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much. I hope that you will now consider using, if you are not, music in your craft. Blessed be, and have a great week.